Hello, everyone. Welcome to Success Career Hub Business Analysis Made Easy. Yeah, it's nice seeing you again. Come in, come on board. And when you join, would you like you just to say I in the chat as our custom when it's time to bring you, for you to contribute to the conversation. You are going to be given the opportunity to join us on live in the studio. So please continue to share the link, like it. As well, you can drop your location in that chat box. You are welcome. While we allow some other people to join, let's just wait a bit to allow others to join. You are welcome. Where are you joining from? I am based out here in Winnipeg. Yeah, Kate Inspired. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Depending on your location, it's afternoon here in Winnipeg where I am. And I know to my people in Alberta and British Columbia, it's still morning. Yeah, Calgary, good morning there. I know my people in the Europe, Africa, it's already evening. It's nice seeing you again. And I must commend you guys. You did a wonderful job. The assignment was excellent. I love the collaboration. I love the way we organize ourselves, and that was extremely awesome. Melissa from Red Deer, welcome. Highland, Francis from Highland, Jenny from Houston, Texas. Nice to see you. Anim 2K from Winnipeg. You are welcome. Again, the group representatives, I am expecting to receive those that are going to be doing the presentation for each group so that we don't take much of our time. Please, if you have your representative's name, I would like you to, if you are there, let us know so that we can bring you on board. And when it's time, you have the time to talk. Bumi Gang, thank you from Nigeria. Mary from Enugu, good afternoon. Sally from Winnipeg. Mayowa from Calgary. Yeah, Oluwaseun all the way from California, and Ginika from Texas, Dallas, Texas. Welcome, everyone. So last week we talked about business process modeling, or you call it process mapping. And again, we try to add to it during the week, where Sulaiman also led the class with the help of support of other people, when we use Microsoft Visio to learn process mapping. And I believe that was actually a nice one. Oh, Romeo, I can see you there. Prodigal son, you are not a prodigal son. You are always welcome. Welcome. Kingsley, welcome. Nice one. Yeah, I can see. Group 4, you've already sent your representative. Sally and Ken Francis is going to be representing group 4. Group 1, please let's know who is going to do your presentation so that we bring you on board. I'll bring you into the studio. Group 1, but if group 1 they are not ready, we may take it straight to group 4. Okay. All right, thank you for that feedback. I'm going to work on that quickly. Okay. I guess my background was actually causing some conflict, but I think this should be good now. Okay, for group one, um, can admin please send the link to bring them in? We have, wow, okay. We have two people that's going to represent group one. Sally and Ken Francis. Sally and Ken Francis, can you comment? Can you drop a comment on the chat box so that admin will bring you in? Sorry, I'm using two screens, so that's why I'm looking left and right. Sorry about that. I'm working with two monitors. Can we have representative of group 2, group 3, and group 4. Okay, group 4 is Sally and Ken Francis. Where are we? Where are we? Okay, Sally is there already. Admin, can you send the link to her? She has commented there. Okay, Sally, you can see, click on that link, the one with under Success Career Hub. Click on it. Then we'll bring you to the studio. I will be sharing my screen for you so that you go through it. Okay, we have group 1, Omolara. Sally, were you able to join? Click on that link. Oh my God. Other groups, I am waiting for you. I've dropped this message since I expect us to have our representatives on ground. Okay. Who is Adijat that is in the studio? Is Adijat working, representing any team, any group? Please, that link is for those that we present. No, Adijat is not representing, so Adijat shouldn't be in here. Okay. Can we get other ones, please? If we don't have, okay, Omolara, please click on that link from Success Career Hub in the comments, and that will bring you in. Omolara is group 1. Let me bring up group 1. Wait, which one is group 1? Is on the one on PDF. Yeah. Okay, Omolara is here. No. Let me bring up your BRD for your team. We'll be presenting, and Omolara, you can actually talk. Let's hear you so that we know you are good. Omolara, can you say hello to be sure that your mic, everything is good? You are in the studio. Oh, I guess she's finding it difficult. Okay, Omolara, you are on. Okay, you can speak now. I believe we can hear you.
So, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. We can't hear you again. Lara, we lost you there. We can't hear your voice again.
Hear me now?
Okay, yeah, you are good. And can you see the presentation very well?
Yes, I can see the presentation.
Awesome. Okay. You
Okay.
have the mic.
So a couple of things. To be candid, I think we had a plan as a group to work on this presentation. However, life was happening at the same time for everyone on the group, so we did our best to put something together. This is not a true representation of all of our thoughts. This is just making sure that we put in a submission, and I believe that as a group we'll still go back to the drawing board to make sure that all the different parts, example, the current state as is. Reason why we didn't kind of dwell on the current state as is because we had discussed it in class, and we already knew what the problems are. Just to mention, the problems that the business was facing is that they were getting way too much orders than they could process. They didn't have online real-time capabilities to process the orders, and they had backlog. They weren't able to fulfill or respond to inquiries as quickly as possible. So the proposed business process, we had said that something that would be very good for them is to have account creation. So finance will create a new account for people can deposit payment when a customer pays for a product, when the customer enters card details and confirmation of payment is done. So the customer has an account with the organization. On the website as well, even before the account creation, definitely there has to be a website. So there's a back-end view, a schema, where where data can be gathered from the information provided. So you create an account from the sellers as admin, and you are able to put in as much of the information as possible so that is stored. And the developer creates the front end where the customer can input all of these parts. Also, the delivery process. We're looking at how we can enable logistics, also package the orders and make sure that it is fulfilled within a short period of time. We kind of broke it down into sub-processes, as you can see on the presentation. And we kind of documented some non-functional requirements, such as security processes and marketing, just to ensure that the website is created as HTTPS instead of HTTP, so a secure web link. It comes up in 5 seconds. Authentication happens through a secure gateway such as a captcha, just to be sure that it's a human being inputting these things, not a bot, and making sure that the ideal customer segment is targeted. Yeah. Hello? Excuse me. Yeah. And this pretty much is the flow chart that speaks to it. But Mr. Gbenga, please, can you just check this presentation to be sure that this is from group 1? Because I don't remember us finishing up with the flow chart.
Okay, I think it's from group 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Submitted by Nicolina. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being said, as I started, we divided ourselves into different parts to tackle the assignment, just so that we have something fulsome to submit. Okay. One thing that really helped, if I must say, was also the process flow class that we had on Thursday. So I'll just implore if the recording can be provided so people can listen in and they're able to create these basic swim lane flow charts.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Lara. We actually have that video is there already on our Google Drive. We have the video for the Thursday class there. However, probably we may still run one more class for that, for business process mapping, whereby I will be using Visio and create a different scenario. Thank you, Group 1. But like you guys know, you know that you've not really done the best. You know that very, very well. But thank you for taking out, your time, coming together and try to put up something. I really appreciate you. And the essence of these is for us to learn from ourselves. We have many of us that are already working as BA in your group, and we want them to share knowledge as well. Those of us that we're still in the learning process, we can as well learn from them. And this should be a kind of like a hands-on for us. So thank you. I appreciate you, Group 1. Group 2, I'm not even sure if I even received anything from Group 2. Or maybe it's coming this morning. I can't even remember. Is anybody here for Group 2? Okay, let's go to Group 3. Please, if you are Group 3 representative, I think we have Bolanle and Enoch. Please drop Group 3 in the chat so that you click on that StreamYard link to bring you on board. Please do that quickly. Group 3, Bolanle and Enoch, I believe you are online. Thank you. This group, Sally is Group 4, right? Don't worry, you can stay. Are you the only one representing Group 4? This group, Sally is Group 4, right? Don't worry, you can stay. Are you the only one representing Group 4? I'm hearing myself again, Sally. Is Group 4, right? Don't worry, you can stay. Are you the only one representing Group 4? I'm hearing myself again, Sally. Right. Okay, I think there's no more feedback. So, Group 4. Okay, Enoch is here, but Enoch, please wait. Let Group 4 complete their own, then I will bring you in. Group 4. Yeah, Bolanle is also, Bolanle, you can also click on the link and you will come to the studio. But however, Sally, yeah, Bolanle is also, Bolanle, you can also click on the link and you will come to the studio. The feedback is much. Maybe you mute that.
Let me try.
Bolanle is also, Bolanle, you can also click on the link. Okay. Okay, can you say something, Sally, so that we hear you? Sally, so that we hear you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
And
Okay, so
we can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Good. Okay, so
we can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Good. Okay, so
can't hear you. Why are we getting that feedback? Is it from you?
Okay, can I log out? I don't know. I didn't log in twice, so I don't know why.
Okay, maybe you go out. Getting that feedback. Is it from you? Okay. Enoch and Bolanle, you can try the link. Group 3 shouldn't have issue logging. Okay, Enoch, you are welcome on board. Bolanle, click on this link. It should bring you in. We need a software tester to help us with that error you are getting, so that we know where the bug is coming from. Okay, Group 3. Let me share the screen so that you see it. Bolanle, you can try again. I just dropped the link. That's the same link that's brought in Enoch. So try it again. Oh goodness.
You said I should try it again?
No, not you. You are good. It's Bolanle. Okay, so I believe this is your group's document. Yeah, you actually name it Group 3. I know you guys have a lot, but I want you to kind of, summarize it because of time. So let's just go straight to the introduction.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know. Can you all hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, please, can you just zoom it a little bit in so I can...
Is it okay like this? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
Well, is it okay? Or you still want me to zoom it?
Please, more. Please do. A little bit. You can see I'm putting on glasses.
I can see.
Okay.
Okay.
That's okay. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present on behalf of... I'm having feedback. But anyways.
And there is no feedback. I can't hear any feedback here.
I'm just wondering. Okay, hold on. I think I opened.
Okay, you have your YouTube on as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So is it better now?
We're good.
Okay, I think I'm good too.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity this afternoon to make a short presentation on behalf of Group 3. Like we all know, the project has to do with providing solutions for e-commerce for an apparel company that is based out of in Nigeria. And the concept behind this is for them to, take advantage of the global market to reach out to most of their customers that have moved out of the shores of the country. So starting off with the project, we first of all we had to come up with a plan for the project itself, keeping in mind the duration of the project. So we started off by gathering requirements as regards the solutions that we intend to provide for this customer. And one of the techniques that was used is the JAD section. For clarity, the JAD section has to be like a high level section that it's a combination of the business owners on one side and the technical team on one side. The reason why we decide to do that because the e-commerce solution itself has to do with solutions that we bring in the technical teams, and of course the technical teams will play a very prominent role there. So to cut that window of we going back and forth trying to get clarity on the requirements. So that's the reason why we use the JAD section. Then moving from there, first of all we had to now come up with the as-is state. I don't know if you could scroll down a little bit. We had to create the as-is state, and keep in mind in that high-level gathering section, we had all the critical stakeholders. We had the internal stakeholders, and equally we had the external stakeholders. For example, one part of the internal stakeholders we had was people in the management. We had like the MSc, the subject matter expert. We had the project managers. Then on the other side, we had like the customers. Of course, this is a project that will be impacted by the customers firsthand, and of course that had to be given a very high priority. So this is the as-is. The as-is is more like what the company at the moment is currently doing, how the operations is being done, where customers just walk in and they take a look at the catalogs, make their choices, and make payments. And it is worthy of note to know that at this as-is state, payments are predominantly done by cash. So going e-commerce, we were looking at the situation where we have to, where people will have a situation where they will be making payments online. So the next diagram will be the to-be. To-be diagram has to do with the solution that we are bringing on board for the customers. The next slide, please. Yeah, to-be diagram has to do with the solutions we are bringing. Because if you take a critical look at it, you see where customers have access to the internet, where they could easily access the website of this company. make their choices. From there, they either, for instance, if at the cost of them trying to do login, if they ever imputed the wrong details, the system has the ability to either redirect them to reset their password, or sometimes we will want to log in and decide, okay, you know what, from now going on, I want to use a new set of passwords. So there, it's so organized in such a way that if you go to the use case diagram, you see where the next slide, please. Use case diagram predominantly shows the interaction, how the customer on one side is interacting with the system. And that's why you can see clearly pointed out that the customer is situated on the left side of the diagram, while the secondary actor, which is the admin in this instance, is on the right side. The work of the admin in this instance, it's, admin will first of all will have the same opportunity to log into the system. So just in case if the customer has room for, say, okay, you know what, he's changing his mind, he's making wrong reviews and all that, the admin has the opportunity to have, first hand to control this. And of course, we all know how it is. First impression matters. We want a situation where customers come in and leave with that lasting impression that, oh, this chat apparel, they're really on top of their game. They know what they're really going. And the whole idea of this e-commerce solution is for customers to come in and have free each, shopping experience. So at this point, I don't know if Bolanle is available.
Yeah, she's here.
Yeah, so that she can take us through the remaining part of the presentation.
Process. Thank you very much. Okay, Bolanle, over to you. Bolanle, are you there? We don't have much time.
Hi.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, can we move to the next slide, please?
Okay.
Okay, so we talked about the traceability matrix, and as we can all see, we have the home page module with the requirements ID, everything matching together, and the requirement description, which has landing page, that's for the home page. Then for the login and register, we have that the page should allow customers to input their email addresses and password to log in. And as you can see, for the forget password, it should, okay, we have that for functional requirements 003. And the description is that the page, that's the page where a customer can easily reset password by providing his or her registered email address. We have change password, we have product search, where the customer can input anything according to the criteria that we already provided, the fabric type and all of that. So we have the payment and this checkout section, and also the customer support section too. So then we move to the user story. For the home page, we also have our user story. So a user should be able to access the website. That's www.childapparels.com. Then the second one is the login and the registration for the user story. We have the as a user that we always hear about. As a user, I want to, so that I can. So we have everything there. I don't know if I should read because of time, but let me just take one. So I have that as a user, the system should allow registered users to log into their personal accounts using the login button. That's for the login. So for the change password, we have for the forget password. So for the change password, we have as a user, I want to be able to change my password if entered incorrectly so that I can access my account. That's for that. Then we have for the product search. We have a lot for the product search, but I'm just going to take one, which is as a user, I want to be able to choose different colors and add multiple quantities to my cart. Then we have for the payment and checkout. I'm just going to take this one. As a user, I want to be able to select same-day delivery or normal delivery so that I can be able to choose the time my product will get to me. So can we move to the next slide, please? Then we have for customer support. We have as a user, I want the opportunity to call or chat with the customer care unit so that I can be able to give feedback or lodge a complaint. Then the next slide, please. So we have our business requirements. We have them. We have the rating. We know in some cases they use a MOSCO, which means must have, should have, could have, and would be nice to have. But in this case, we used the numerical one. So the critical is there. We have high, we have medium, low, and for the future. So as you can see, we have everything. But for the high, we have review button for the high. For low, we have login with Facebook and other social media, because we included logging in with our Facebook account, with our Google account, and all other social media platforms like that. So for the functional requirements, we have child apparel functional requirement 001. We have the home page, and we have the rationale. The rationale is just the reason behind our description. So the rationale behind homepage is to serve as a landing page of the website. That's for the homepage. And we have the impacted stakeholders. We have the customers and the admin. For the second one, we have login and registration. The rationale, the reason behind it is to gather KYC of the customer. KYC is know your customer, and to build a customer database for future marketing. So the next one is forget password, and that's the third functional requirement. And the reason is to allow users to reset their password when forgotten. We also have for change password, and the impacted stakeholders are the customers. So we have for product search too. The impacted stakeholders are the customers and the guests, and we can see everything underneath. So we have for payment and checkout, and we have the impacted stakeholders, the developers, the customers, and the likes.
Thank you, Bolandi. Thank you so much.
So
so
we have our non-functional requirements. So
Okay.
our non-functional requirement, as we know, they are I don't really know how to explain it, but
well, the non-functional requirement, thank you, Bolandi. The non-functional requirements are like set rules that are used in judging the functional requirements. And the functional requirement itself are rules that must be met, to meet customers' expectation. So just to round this up, at the end of this, there are lessons learned, which is the last slide. The lessons learned from this is, number one, we had to learn how to manage our time. Collaboration was very essential for us, because we can't do it all alone. We really worked, straight into the late nights just to get this, going for us. And one thing again, my big thanks on behalf of the team goes to the management of Success Hub for having given us the template, because the template itself really, it came in handy and really helped our speed in this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Group 3. Since you guys sent this in, if you know the way I've been hailing you guys, like, wow, you kill it. You even go beyond my expectation. You've taken it even beyond where I want us to stop this week. I really, really appreciate every one of you. I belong to all the group, and I was watching the activities. I must commend you guys. I love the way you guys collaborate, how you organize yourself. I saw how you are meeting almost every day. It was awesome. And this shows in your presentation. And I believe everyone in that group, you have really, really learned something. You've learned something. The essence of this training is this. We don't just want here to teach you theory. I taught theory, but I gave assignments so that we can come up with something. This is how it will help us when we're working. It will come, it's something you will look at, you reason. Bring that your skill, that system thinking skill, that problem solving skills, bring it out. And when you collaborate with others, you will see that you can actually do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
3, and thank you, Enoch and Bolanli. God bless you. Okay, we have a Sally online now. I will bring her up, and I will bring, that's a group 4, right? So Sally, I will suggest you off your or you mute your YouTube now while you are on the StreamYard.
Okay. Yes, that was a mistake. Sorry about that.
Okay, so we are good, right?
Yes.
Okay. I saw your front page. Beautiful picture there. Can you see my screen? I'm not sure if it's clear.
Not yet.
Okay. My okay.
Okay. So this is group 4, and after the wonderful presentation from group 3, I was wondering if you're going to still call us, but it's okay.
No, everybody must say something. We will learn from ourselves.
So,
That's the only sense.
yeah, it was actually a rush walk. I'll be honest about that. It was a day to do that. So many things happened, and we're still learning, but we're here to learn. So I'll just go through it. So we had a discussion, and we decided that, okay, as business analysts, we would, there was a problem with Chad Apparel, and we used the different techniques, we used interviewing, questionnaires, and workshops to be able to get what we needed to do for the business requirements. So coming up with that, that's how we started this is the first document. So I think for that first page, it shows version 1.
Yep.
So that means this is the first version. Then we talked about the people that will do for the approvals. We talked about the project sponsor, the business owner, system architect. So everyone in that table is going to sign off when there's anything to be done for the project to ensure there's equality at every step. So we have the assurance, the tester, so everybody, the finance director, project manager. So the executive, I think I might have to move the screen. Screen's a bit tiny. So for the executive summary, yes, we decided the executive summary was to attract new clients because of our increased sales and outside the physical store. So we want to increase the revenue. We looked at the business goals of the company and decided that this was the next step in line with the business goals. Then also for the project summary, can go to the project summary. Okay, so we just talked briefly about the business and the background. Then we came about with the needs statement also. If you can go down a bit, we came about with the needs statement. We came about with the business drivers. What are we doing? We want to make payment faster through the online solution. We want the financial results of the business to increase by 75%. And we want to have access to making purchases all around the clock. So because of all the limitations they had. So we decided to go into the project. So we decided that, okay, what are we going to do with the project? So we looked at our in-scope functionality. So we'll not deviate from it. So we said, yes, we're going to work on the search and order placement. We're going to do the online payment processing. We're going to do the customer account arrangement, product management, order tracking, and customer service. This is all we're going to do. And so we decided to bring it out of scope. So we'll not deviate from our goal. We're not going to talk about marketing. We're not going to talk about inventory management and physical store. So that was out of scope. So anything that relates to that will be out of scope. So what was the purpose of this? We're going to use the user roles. So it's going to be the customers, the administrators, the delivery partners, and the payment processing providers. These ones are very important for the business, for it to go. Then we decided to come up with the assumptions and dependency, the constraints and the risks. Knowing what this is an e-commerce business, we know the risks is going to face is cybersecurity. It's going to have technical, it's going to have payment processing risks, a lot of issues. Then the payment processing issues, these are the issues that we have. Although we made plans that we're going to mitigate the risks, probably we would have like a matrix on how to mitigate such risks, but we decided to bring it out so we'll know how to deal with that. Then what's going to be our success criteria? We had 3 things for our revenue. Our revenue should increase by 50%. We show the success of the project. Then the rating on the website should 4-star, at least 4-star. We show that the project was a success. Then customer retention, to show that we're able to increase customer retention and satisfaction by 75%. So these are going to be 3 of our success criteria for the business. So we decided to see how the business was and how it's going to be. We apologize for this flow chart. It's not perfect, but we'll work on that later. I know there was a part for
it's a waterfall.
So,
okay. It's okay, at least you pass the message.
So we just show the manual part how it goes. It's gonna you come to the store and everything. That's for us. But the proposal part, it's going to be like the customer is going to register. It's the customer must, okay, yes, we even plan that there are some things that must hold in the business. For example, if you're going to the site, you must register to be able to have access to the website, to have your email. So first of all, you register to website, you search for items. When you find, you add to your cart. Then if it's not available, yes, that part could be ended. But if it's available, you add other things to your carts. Then it comes to the end. Like I said, it was not perfect because there were the part of the loyalty. I know boss talked about the loyalty, so we couldn't add all those ones because it was kind of like we're hurried. But this is the basic plan for the proposed business. So for the functional requirements, so we said for the functional requirements, this was the what, right? The what of the business, the specific things we wanted to do for the functional requirements. So we talked about the product section browsing, the shopping carts, checkout payments, the order tracking, product reviews. These are all we needed for the functional requirement. So for the non-functional requirement, that could be like the performance, the security of the website, the usability, compatibility, all those will fall under the non-functional requirements. So going down, then what approach are we going to use? Say that we're going to use the approach of the agile. Sorry that our project was showing waterfall, but it's actually agile. We're going to use an agile team. It's going to be made up of the Scrum Master, the product owner. So we're going to do it like every 2 weeks. They're going to have a stand-up meeting and they'll have a review every 2 weeks to ensure that at every point in time, the project is we're getting feedback from the project and seeing how it's working before the final project. So we're going to have it in 2 weeks turnaround time on how we're doing. So we're going to have business rules also put in our project. For example, customer can't make order less than $50. Then customers has to register an email address before accessing the website, and the customer cannot modify payment after it has been submitted. So those are the strict rules we're going to put up in the project. And I think that's about all we did. We couldn't get to the project budget and schedule, but this was all for group 4.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sally, and thank you, group 4. That was excellent. Yeah, I know every one of us, we are very, very busy. It's not easy for us to come together and do this. But again, I must commend everyone that has put in one way or the other. I saw how you guys are trying to meet. I understand the problem, the time difference problem. You know, we have some people in Europe, some in Africa, and some of us, even in Canada here, we have a different, Canada, America here, we have different time among ourselves. But for coming together to put up this, I must commend you. And you know, one thing I want us to know, and which I appreciate when we have opportunity like this, please, let's dive into it. Anyone that has participated in this, there is no way you want to talk about this in your interview that you wouldn't have one or two things to say. You will flow. Look at what they put there when they were talking about key performance in the KPI. These are things you put on your resume. You don't just write general things on your resume, what every other person will do easily. But you want to tell them the success criteria, as they put it here. Increase revenue by 50%. This will be part of your achievement. The solution have 4-star rating on the company's website. Increase customer retention and satisfaction by 75%. These are things you showcase on your resume and you talk about them when you have interview. I must commend you all. Thank you for taking our time and try to put this together. Okay, we're going to be continuing from here because we are going to deliver this solution, even if it's not going to be big because of time. This is 5th week and we want to run 8 weeks. But we're still going to try to come up with the MVP from the, I don't know why, is that group 2? Group 2. All of you, we are going to sanction group 2, right? We didn't get anything from them, but for those that have submitted, thank you very much. That is awesome. but we're not relenting. I will give another task that is going to prepare us for next one. Group 3 has actually done a lot of that. They've already, almost all the groups, you identify the features of this solution. And group 3 started with user stories. But to make it easier, we're going to divide the features among us. And you are writing user stories and acceptance criteria. Then from there, we will move to learn how to use Jira, so that we know how we put all of these things on this collaboration and project management tool. But for today, we will be looking into project management like an overview, and we will be dwelling much on Agile and streamline it specifically on Scrum. So I'm not going to take the class today. I have a friend of mine, also a professional, certified business analyst professional, a Scrum Master, who have a lot of experience in this regard as well. He will be helping me out today. I must tell you, I've not slept since yesterday. I wrote a certification exam this morning. So if you look at my face, you will see this is not real new, but I need to, I just have to be here, and I appreciate everyone for coming. So joining me this morning is Abraham. And Abraham, yeah, you have the floor. You can go ahead while I go back to the backstage.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. And to everyone who has presented the projects, well done, great job. I know it was a really short time. Olubenga was just telling me how long you guys had, and sorry, my video is a bit fuzzy here. I'm trying to make it as clear as possible. But he was telling me how much time you guys had, and you were able to come up with that in such a short time. So I think you guys deserve a round of applause. Well done to all of you who definitely attempted this. Well, my name is Abraham. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly set up my screen here, and I'll introduce myself, and we can get started. So let's do that. Screen share and. Okay, just give me 1 second here. Okay, admin, I'm hoping you can see my screen. I have my slide up. It just says BA in Scrum. Fantastic. Awesome. So my name is Abraham, and as Oluwenga has been kind enough to introduce me, I am a BA. I also wear that Scrum Master hat, and I also do a lot of training facilitation. So when he shared with me that he was doing something free, just to share with people how to become an effective BA, and it was free of charge, I'm like, yes, I definitely want to be able to help out here and just give my quota. So let's talk about BA in Scrum, or BA within that Agile framework or Agile methodology, and more importantly, Scrum. Now, it's going to be an interesting ride, and I'm going to need a lot of engagement. I know there are a lot of us on the call right now, but we do have access to the comment session, and I implore you to go ahead and start typing out stuff. Let me know if you have any experience as a BA. Let me know if you've ever heard of the word Scrum or of the word Agile. So if you've heard of the word Agile, just put in yes in the comments. I have the comments box open as well, so I can see all of those comments coming through. Okay, so let's get started. So a lot to cover today, but by way of objective, I only want you guys to learn 3 things. It's going to be. Olubenga has told me he has about 40 minutes, 45 minutes for me. So I definitely cannot uncover Agile and Scrum within 40 or 45 minutes or even an hour. So we'll do our best. And I said, you know what, let's find a way to make this as beneficial as possible. Oh, yes, thank you so much. I see a lot of people putting in yes in the chat. You've heard about Agile, you've heard about Scrum, and we're talking about why that's important today, especially as a BA. So the first thing I want you to take away from this conversation would be, one, the difference between a project management cycle and what's called the software development life cycle, also known as SDLC. Number two would be understanding the difference between traditional or waterfall, and you heard a few of the presenters talk about which methodology they use in presenting or documenting their BRD. Was it traditional or is it we'll learn about agile and traditional, what the differences are. And then finally, if you do become a BA within an agile or a scrum environment, what are you supposed to be doing? Now, I see one person or a few people saying, no, they don't have any experience with Scrum or Agile, and no worries, we'll break it down for you. Okay, awesome stuff. So has anyone gone on, I know there are a lot of people across the world that are on the call right now, but have you gone to any of the job sites, maybe Indeed, for example, whether that's indeed.ca or just indeed.com, and have you found jobs that are specifically looking for a BA within sort of an agile framework? I'm just going to leave a few seconds here for people to answer yes or no in the chat, and maybe I'll just help. So the question again is, have you ever looked for a BA job? And if you have gone in search of a BA job on Indeed or one of those other job boards, whether it's LinkedIn and so on, have you ever seen or have you noticed that they may be requesting for you to be not just a BA, but they also want you to be have experience within a Scrum environment or an Agile environment? Okay, so I see if people say yes, others are saying no, 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 and looks like there's more yeses than no, and someone even says almost all of them. Okay, so let's throw some statistics here, right? At least 71% of US companies, by a recent survey actually carried out in 2023, at least 71% of US companies are now using Agile. Now, everyone is transitioning as much as possible from that traditional waterfall environment into Agile. And that's why it's important for you to not just be a BA, but also understand that Agile and Scrum environment. So let's get started. Now, guys, if you're excited, just give me a yes in the chat. I want to see all those yeses, yeses, yeses in the chat. If I have enough yeses, then we'll go along. If it's no, 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 and I'm not excited, I don't want to learn about this, then of course I'll just end this conversation and I'll say I'll bid you farewell. So let me see how many yeses we can get in the chat before we really get started. Remember, it's a lot of stuff to uncover, but I'm going to do my best to ensure that at least you guys know this 1, 2, 3 things on the screen right now. So it's one, you're going to learn about project management cycle. You're also going to learn about what that difference is, how software development also comes into that project management cycle. You're also going to learn the difference between waterfall versus agile, and then finally your role as a BA within Scrum. Okay, so I see a lot of yeses. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is project management. Now, I know that almost everyone, if not everyone on the call, has heard about project management, right? And you probably have been part of a project in one way, shape, or form. I'll explain that to you. You don't necessarily need to have the title project manager to be part of a project. Now think about, okay, I know there are a lot of Nigerians on the call, so let's take a quick Nigerian example. Now everybody talks about Lagos Party in the rest of the world. I'm based in Canada as well. But even here, we talk about Lagos Party and everybody's like, oh, I've missed Owambe. And, during the COVID period, we couldn't really have parties and stuff like that, right? Now, to plan a Lagos Party, brethren, people on this call, it's a project on its own. I'm sure you guys, some of us who might be into events planning, we can agree, right? It's you have to plan it out. You have to start with that initiation of having a conversation between the the bride and the groom or the parents or whoever is funding this, and then you guys are sitting together and say, okay, what's your budget like, right? And then it's going into that planning phase where you're now starting to discuss, what are your expectations, what would you like to have, okay, how many guests would you like to have at this event? And maybe it's 500, maybe it's 1,000, depends on what the budget is, right? And you're starting to talk, well, what location do you want it to be? A destination wedding? Maybe it's in Zanzibar, maybe it's in Dubai, or maybe it's somewhere in Nigeria, maybe it's Lagos, or maybe it's Spain. And then after all that conversation is happening, the next thing that happens is the D-Day, right? And it's the execution. And before people start to arrive, the venue would have been arranged and paid for, decorations would be happening, you would have paid for food and all of that stuff and refreshment, and then finally on that very day it's all coming together, right? And then during that day, on the day that's happening, during that implementation or execution, as you can see on my screen, I'm already talking about the phases of project management here. And we're sort of at execution right now. And during that execution phase, the next thing that's sort of happening that day is the event planner is moving around to make sure that everything is going on as planned. They are ensuring that the food vendor is where they are supposed to be. They're ensuring that the music, the DJ is doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. They're ensuring that the security or whatnot, all of those things are happening, and that's where sort of monitoring and control comes into place. And there's all and in an actual project example, you're dealing with maybe software development, for example. They're going to be documenting, um, ensuring that all the documentations are in place and all of that stuff, right? And then finally, we have the closure. So it's the end of the event. You're paying up any final bills and so on. You're documenting lessons learned. If you're the event planner, you're documenting lessons learned. Say, hey, this went wrong and that went wrong, and you're taking note of those things so that in the next event you're going to schedule, you already have all of those at play, and then you can take all those new stuff that you've learned into the next event and not make the same mistakes. Guys, is this a project or is it not a project? Have we been able to go through all the phases or not? I want you to type in yes if you agree that a wedding event is actually a project, and no if you do not believe that that's actually a project. And if you say no, then I'll ask you to come on screen and explain to us what a project is. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Yes, 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 yes. Fantastic. So guys, that is what a project is. My conversation today is going to be such that I'm not going to be using any big terms to confuse you. I'm not trying to be a Harvard professor where I'm going to come up with some theory and theoretical conclusion and so on. It's stuff that we know, stuff that we can touch, stuff that we can feel. And that's what we're going to be talking about today as we go along. Okay, so that's what a project is. Project has an initiation and an end. It has a start and a close. That is what a project is. Now, has anyone heard about software development? Just put yes in the chat if you've heard software development. And when you think software development, when you type in yes, also type in what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear software development. Anything, just feel free. It could be, oh, it's difficult. Oh, it's unreachable. Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, it's incredible. Oh, it's AI. Let me know what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear software development. All right, I'm looking in the chat. Okay, I see someone say, Humphrey says IT. When they hear software development, they think IT. Esther thinks IT as well. Okay, let's go. Somehow difficult. Okay, we're getting people who are expressing how they feel about the idea of software development. Let's keep going. It involves planning. I like that. It involves planning for sure. Everything that has to do with projects or products definitely involves planning. Let's see if we can get one more and then we'll continue here. Okay, and I also see another IT when they hear software development. Now, how many of us are interested in getting into software development? I want to see, just say yes if you're interested in getting into coding when you hear software development. Awesome. Okay, so let's see how many yeses we can get if you're interested in software development. Okay, I see someone say, aye, that's awesome. Okay, I want more yeses. I want more. I'm interested. Someone says programming when they hear software development. That's awesome. Building the code. Yes, 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 yes. Great. Okay, so I see Omolara says yes. Francis is saying yes too. Olufunshaw is saying yes. They are all interested in getting into software development. Now, that's fantastic. What if I told you that it is not as difficult as you think? Someone said when they hear software development, they believe it's difficult, right? It is not as difficult as you think to get into software development. I'll explain to you why. Now, in the process of building a software, a lot of things have to happen. Okay, so when we think software development, and that's why I asked that question, what comes to mind immediately when you hear software development? And people still typing in build a code, it's difficult, IT. Yes, it's all those things, it's true, but it's also not all those things as well. And I'll break it down for you. Now, when you're just like you're planning, let's go back to the analogy of a wedding, just like you're planning a wedding. If I asked any of you right now, if I asked maybe Yemi on the call, or if I asked Esther on the call, I said, Esther, can you go and plan that wedding for me? The person who is going to be getting wedded is the prime minister's daughter of Turkey, right? I'm sure you probably say, like you've never done this before. Like, what are you talking about? But if I ask you a different question, if I say, Esther, or Kemi, can you get involved in the planning and the execution of a wedding that involves the prime minister of so and so, right? You probably say, you start to think that, okay, this is actually possible. Well, yes, when you say get involved, I don't necessarily need to be in charge of everything from start to finish, right? I just maybe need to be able to handle, be able to coordinate the vendors, or maybe I just need to be able to interact with the food vendor to ensure that they're there on time, or I need to be in charge of security, right? Do you agree that it starts to, if you shift that mindset, it starts to seem like, okay, maybe you can get involved in this, right? It's the same way with software development. If I asked you to build a website, or in the project we just had, I asked you, they're asked to build a website for, I think the name of the group of the enterprise is Chad, right? A lot of you on this call will say, no, I cannot build a website, and that's true, and that's okay. But if I asked you to get involved in the process of building a website, then maybe you can get involved, right? And let me tell you how, because there are different phases of software development. Now, as you can see on the screen here, SDLC, that's the short form of Software Development Lifecycle, provides a method that describes the activities performed during each phase of systems development project, right? So SDLC is about quality, it's about consistency, and it's about product delivery. Let's break that down further, right? So just the same way we talked about the different phases of projects right now in that analogy of a wedding, let's talk about the phases of software development. There's the planning phase. Now, it's the same way that you're planning sort of for a project that you're also planning for a software development. Someone also typed that in the chat, say planning, and another person I can see say designing as some of the things that you be doing in software development. Now, when you're planning, you don't necessarily need to be a coder. You don't necessarily need to start typing up code, HTML or Python and so on, to be part of this process, right? To be part of the phase of software development. Is it starting to make sense that maybe yes, you can be part of this whole software development lifecycle? And if it's a yes, if it's making sense, type a yes in for me in the chat. And if it's no, then let me know, and maybe I'll try and break this down a little bit more. But let's keep going. There's analysis. Now you're saying I want to build a website, right? What sort of website do you want to build? What's the target audience? Is it an e-commerce site? Is it a booking application? Is it a ticketing application, for example, to maybe support service delivery, support customer care or call center and so on, right? And all of that analysis that's happening is also what we call requirements elicitation. So you're gathering requirements for this software that you want to build. In this example, we're building a website, right? You're gathering all the requirements. Okay, so what is this website going to be doing? Who is it for? Who are the potential target audience and so on, right? And then you're also doing things like designing what that process looks like. So maybe it's a website where you want people to be able to log in and be registered as registered customers of yours, or you just want people to also be able to, besides being able to log in, you want them to also be able to click in and maybe purchase a product, right? So think of Amazon as an e-commerce site, for example. There are people you can have an account, which is great, which makes it easier for you, and you have this additional benefits of maybe being able to quickly track your order, being able to return your order, you can fund your wallet and so on Amazon, right? But you also you don't necessarily maybe need to have an Amazon account. You can just go in, you can buy stuff, and they deliver it to your account, and that's the end of that transaction. So you're in that design phase, you are sort of designing what that flow looks like, what that customer journey looks like, what that user journey looks like that's going to be using your application. Does that make sense? Someone said discovery stage as well. Yes, that's happening in analysis. So now we're getting into design, right? So you're designing what that flow looks like. You're also in that process now. All the things I've said, we're already on the third phase of software development. I haven't talked about coding. I haven't said, hey, Shola, hey, Esther, hey, Reginald, you need to be a coder to be able to help us with planning. You need help to help us with analysis, to help us with design. No, we're just still thinking conceptually about this software that we want to design. Okay. So we're into design now. So we're thinking about that flow, what that flow looks like. And that's when you're doing things like you're documenting your process flow. So, okay, as a registered user, or as a registered customer, what does user journey, what does their customer journey look like on the application, on the website? They log in, they are brought into the homepage. From the homepage, they have additional access to their wallets, their past bought items, and so on, right? And then once they click this, it goes to this, and once they click that, it goes so you're documenting that flow, what it looks like. And that's another thing that the BA gets to do. Another thing that you're probably doing in design is you are helping to develop mock-ups, or what we call wireframes. Now imagine that I wanted to design a website. Adewusi, imagine that you're my client and you tell me, hey, Abraham, please design a website for me that can do this and do that and do this, right? Before I actually go in and tell you, okay, well, in the next 2 weeks, you have your website ready, I'm sure you want to see at least some sort of semblance, some sort of replica of what that website could potentially look like. And that's where wireframing and mock-ups come into play. Again, so far, I haven't said anything about coding or programming knowledge or anything technical. This is all stuff that you and I, Daniel, you and I, Esther, you and I, Ajayi, can definitely do without any technical knowledge. So you're putting together some sort of, and I think of wireframe. Let's not get into too technical stuff. Think of wireframe as let's put pen to paper, right? I say I want to design a website. I draw a square, and then in that square, let's say Google homepage. What do you see on Google's homepage? You see, it's just a blank screen. It's all white, and you have maybe Google logo somewhere in the top left, right? It's a sketch. Perfect. Adewusi says a sketch. Thank you so much. That's exactly right. So it's a sketch. You have Google what's it called? Google icon somewhere to the top left. You have the search bar somewhere at the top of the screen where people can go in and type in whatever it is that they're looking for. And that is what a wireframe looks like. Now, if you believe that you can do this so far, all of these things that we've said so far, between the planning to design phase, type in "I can" in the chat. I want to know that I'm speaking to someone. I want to know that I'm getting somewhere with someone. I want to know that I'm preparing someone's mind to say, yes, I can actually do this. I can take my career to the next level. I can jump into BA and start getting the jobs that I'm really wanting to get. So type in "I can," yes, I can. If you think that so far, all the things that I've said we're doing in software development, between planning and now on design, you certainly can get involved. Okay, so I see a few "I cans." I want more "I cans." I know that you guys can do this. I want to hear more. I want to see more "I cans" in the comments. So please keep them coming. I see Esther, thank you. I know that you can. And Namdi, thank you. I know that you certainly can. Okay, so let's get to development. Now this is where it gets interesting, and perhaps this is where coding will come into play. Okay, so now developers will come into at this point, you as the BA, right? You would have worked with your stakeholders. Your stakeholders would include maybe a product owner, maybe the customer who's wanting to build a website. To keep it simple, you'd have worked with them to understand all of these requirements. You'd have showed them that sketch, as somebody said earlier, to say, hey, this is what your website could potentially look like. It's just a sketch. You're not doing anything fancy, just a sketch. And they say, oh, I like it. Go ahead, right? And then at this point, you are sharing all of those BRDs, for example, that you've already documented. That's the business requirement documents. You're including the process flow for what a registered user would do versus what a non-registered user would do. You're sharing that wireframe and all that stuff with the developers. Now, developers are those guys who are the technical guys now, and I'm sure that there are maybe one or two people on this call who are technical. They're the guys who know how to write the code, right? So they go in, they carry all of this stuff that you've sent to them based on discussions you've had, and then they start the work of actually putting that website together. Okay, so that's development phase. Now we're on the testing phase. What gets to happen during the testing phase? I'll tell you. So now developers they've gone ahead to they've built the website. It's for you to now you guys need to test it. You said you want that homepage and people can go in and search. Is it actually working the way it should? When I go to do Google homepage, for example, and I type who is the president of Nigeria, does the name come out? Do I have suggestions coming out? So you're testing all of that flow that you've initially documented. And then once testing, most likely you might get one or two, well, not one or two bugs, a few bugs actually. And then you go back to develop and say, hey, these are a few bugs, this thing didn't work as it should. and then they go back and then develop and stuff like that, and then finally you can move on. When you're satisfied, everything works okay, then you can move on to that stage of deployment. Now, deployment is, here's the website, the customer has had a chance to do what's called a user acceptance testing. Now, from the name, I don't even need to define what that is. So the client or the end user is going to have to do what they call a user acceptance testing, including you as a business analyst on that project or building that product. And then you guys are satisfied, everything is all good, green check, and it's time for actually us to have that website live. So they go ahead, they load that up to the production site, and it's live and up and running. The customer can go in, users can go in, registered users can go in and log in, non-registered users or customers can go in and actually buy a product, for example, if it's an e-commerce site. Now, it's not done at that point. The next stage within a software development lifecycle, it's called the maintenance phase. You know that for every website, for this Google that we go in and type in every day, for this software that we're on right now, StreamYard, there are some engineers on the back end who are continuing to ensure that it's up and running, continuing to ensure that when there's any bug, for example, they can quickly fix that so that it's, the sites come back. Continue to ensure that it's safe from, in terms of cybersecurity, it's safe from attacks, it's safe from malwares. And if that happens, they can quickly go in and fix that. So that's what maintenance is. And it's sort of a cycle. And that's why it's called the software development life cycle. So it doesn't necessarily end at, oh, it's deployed, that's it, full stop, bye-bye. But that maintenance has to continue within the space of SDLC. Okay, so we've just explained project management, and we've also talked about software development lifecycle. Now, let me know if you still think it's hard to be involved in software development. If you say yes, don't worry, me and you would have a separate call and we'll have to break it down what's going on. Would probably call some pastors and imams and we'll start to pray and break any. Okay, let's keep going. All right. So before we move on to the next slide, another thing that you need to know when you're trying to understand what project management is and sort of what the difference between project management and SDLC is who is responsible for a project. Now let's take the analogy of a wedding again, right? So inside the wedding, the person that's most likely responsible for that wedding, for the success of that wedding, is the event planner. You can all agree with that. Like, let me know. Type in yes if you agree that the event planner in the sphere of a wedding is responsible for the success or failure of that wedding. And if you think it's somebody else, type in the name of the person or the role of the person in the chat as well. Okay, so I see a quick question here. Where does coding come in? Oh, yeah. So coding comes in, and I mentioned that earlier, during this step, this development step. That's where the real coding comes into play. And not to elaborate too much on that, this is the major place where a lot of the coding would happen when you're actually developing the software. Okay, someone said the groom and bride are also responsible for whether it's successful or not. Yes, that is partially correct. But I mean, if you wanted to hold one person who was responsible, so let's say the groom and the bride had provided all the funding and everything, and somehow the project, the event wasn't successful. I'm sure that you probably go and grab the event manager, aka the project manager, and people are starting to get this already. So yes, that one person, if you wanted to hold just one person, yes, it's a group of everybody from, we can start throwing blames. Maybe it's the food that was bad, and you can say, oh, it's the food vendor and stuff like that, right? But if you wanted to really hold one person who was responsible for a success or a failure of an event, or in this case, a project, it would be the project manager. When we're building software, most times the person who is sort of responsible, it's what's called a product owner, and that's when we're getting to the agile phase. So I'm beginning to speak a bit of agile terminology here. Now, project management can be used for a variety of things. You can use project management for planning weddings. You can use project management for building houses. You can use project management for constructing bridges, those in engineering. You can use project management for even developing software, and that's what we're talking about. So now that sort of phase of, if you're talking about project management and software development, then the framework that you're going to be very, very familiar with, that you need to be very familiar with, is this SDLC phase. Okay, so I'm just trying to let you know that one is not replacing another. It's more so, this is if you're running a project within, if you're running a project that is based on software development, you're trying to develop a software, right? Most likely the framework, the method you're going to be using is using this SDLC. That's the different phases that we've just run through. Okay, if you're doing, maybe I don't know about building houses, but I'm sure that there's a process that you need to go through for building houses. There are different methods that you can use to build houses and so on. For event planning, I know that there are different frameworks as well. But for software development, you're always going to have to go through that planning, analysis, design, development, testing, deployment, and then also that maintenance phase. Okay, let's keep going. So let's marry the two together. So let's say we're running a project. Let's assume that it's a company right now. I work for this big company and we are running a project. The project is to perhaps let's say we want to introduce maybe Microsoft Enterprise to the entire organization, right? And we are doing that for all of the departments within the company. Okay, so I remember Microsoft Enterprise has so many different solutions, so many different products. So there's maybe Access, which I think is no longer in use, but there's Microsoft Words, productivity tools like Excel and so on. There's also enterprise tools like maybe Outlook, for example. There are more distinct tools like Visio and so on, right? So it's a lot of products. So within that sort of implementation, maybe the business is structured such that, okay, you know what, let's have different product owners for each of those products within Microsoft. So let's have a product owner that's going to help us manage that execution and implementation of Visio. Let's have another product owner that's going to manage that execution and implementation of Microsoft Outlook and so on. Maybe that's not the most fantastic example, but I'm hoping that you're with me as I go along this, right? So let's keep going and let's marry what that project management looks like with SDLC. Again, it's a software development a project that we're working on here. So at initiation, what's really happening there on the software side is you're working with the project manager as a BA within this project to help with planning, right? So you're at the initiation, remember that's where we're trying to do that project charter and we're trying to do the business case. So you're doing things like analysis, you are helping to document feasibility studies and stuff like that, right? Whether it's actually viable to get this done based on the budget. Now in planning, we're looking into more so budget, more so time, more so scope. And as a BA within this phase, you're helping with analysis, helping to gather requirements, and helping with design as well. Planning is we want to know what exactly we're doing. Okay, so just one quick check here. All right, let's keep going. I'm just checking for time. And then within execution is where this is the we're actually executing on the project right now, and this is where the development work, and like as someone said, where does coding come in? You are doing, this is where the coding comes in. So you as a BA are not necessarily a coder. The guys who are more technical are doing development and testing should supposed to have been on the next line there. Apologize. And then there's also deployment during execution. So you're doing that development, they're writing the code, they're testing the code that is right, they're testing the website, the solution that is working okay, and then finally you're actually deploying that to production so that end users can actually go in and use that solution, right? And then we have monitoring and controlling, that's having to do with governance and then just ensuring that a lot of documentation are in place. And then finally we have the closure of the project and transition. So closure is, we're done with this project, we've delivered Microsoft, we've delivered all the tools that you want us to deliver, from Outlook to Visio and so on, and that's it. And you as a BA within this phase, you are helping with maintenance. Like that's, so whatever your intake process is. Maybe it's you're interfacing with the customer service team when they receive calls or receive emails to say, hey, Microsoft Outlook isn't working so well for my division. You guys need to fix this and fix that. You are documenting all of those and you're helping to transition that or communicate that to the IT guys, air quotes, the developers who would fix that problem. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to say is project management and software development, they complement each other. They're not, oh, this is one style of doing things and this is another style. No, we're getting to that point. That's what we're going to be talking about traditional, or as somebody typed in, Dara typed into the chat, waterfall and then agile. Okay. Let's keep going. Now, there are many SDLC methodology. There are many ways to, many methods to sort of apply all of these different phases of the SDLC. Now, there's the waterfall methodology. There is the agile methodology. There's another one called RUP. There's another one called Spiral. There's another one called V-shape. There are lots of them. So the whole idea is different methodologies are just sort of defining how do we go ahead and all of the 7 phases, in some cases they might say 6, some people like to remove maintenance. In all of these 7 or 6 phases, how do we apply them, right, to ensure that we are designing this website or this software? And that's where the methodology comes in. Traditional is such that we are starting from planning, and after planning we must be done with planning first. Once we are done with planning, we have everything approved. We have the project scope and everything approved. We have the project plan and all that stuff approved. Then we can move into analysis, where we are, starting to document that BRD and so on. And that must be complete or completed before we move into the next phase, which is design. And that phase must be completed before we move to the next phase, which is development, right? So that's the traditional, or what's called the waterfall methodology of software development lifecycle. Agile is slightly different. Agile is saying, hey, we can do this iteratively, right? We don't have to necessarily wait to plan the entire project from start to finish. We can start to we can start with a phase of the project, and get into an illustration. We can start with a phase of the project, deliver one small portion of the project. So let's say it's a website. Now we want the website to be able to allow people to log in. Let's even deliver the login phase. Let's even deliver the login page first. And once the customer is satisfied, that's great. Then let's go ahead and deliver the shop phase, where they can actually go in, the catalog phase, where the customers can actually go in and see all of the products and then pick from that product and so on. So you're doing it in tranches, in what's called sprints, in what's called iteration. That's the agile methodology or agile mindset. And it's Spiral. There's also V-shaped, which I wouldn't necessarily touch on today, but I give you guys an assignment to go and Google what the Spiral and V-shaped methodology are. Now, the two most popular methodology here, guys, on the screen. Can you guess for me, putting that in the chat, what do you think are the 2 most popular methodologies amongst all 4 on the screen? That's traditional, waterfall, agile, spiral, and V-shaped. Which one do you think are the most popular, the top 2 popular methodologies used today? I'm just going to give a second here to see how many people are going to respond. I see people saying agile and waterfall. Some other person says Scrum and Kanban. That's great. So I'm talking about the methodologies here. Let's forget about this framework for now. Let's talk about methodologies. What are the most 2 popular methodologies that are being used currently? So people are saying agile and waterfall. BB, thank you. Esther saying agile and waterfall. And Ayinka is also saying agile and waterfall. I see Fred saying agile. Okay, that's exactly right. Julian is also saying agile and waterfall. That is exactly right. So before agile came into play, traditional or waterfall was the most popularly used framework, and now agile has actually trumped traditional to become one of the most favored style or methodology to deliver software development. Okay, so agile and waterfall are the 2 most important. And if you go on Google now and type for a job in BA, and it's having to do with you helping to manage a product or help to design products and services or softwares, then you are definitely going to be interviewed on whether you have either it's a waterfall environment, or if it's an agile environment, you're going to be looking to see if you have an agile experience or knowledge. Okay, now let's zoom into Agile because that's what this conversation is about. Let's leave traditional, let's leave waterfall. Let's zoom into Agile because that's the new, as we saw the statistics earlier, 70% of companies are now using Agile in the US. So it's the new thing on the block. It's the new kid on the block. It's something that we all need to know and get into. Now, let's zoom into Agile a little bit. What are those framework within Agile that are popular? Now, Agile is just a methodology. It's a school of thought. There are different frameworks as well in which to apply Agile. One and the most popular one is Scrum. You have Lean, you have Kanban, and there's so many others that we have. So in most cases, if you look for a job right now, if you go and look at the job description, you're going to be seeing, if it's an Agile environment, you're going to see they want you to know about Scrum, or in some cases they might ask you for SAFe, that is Skilled Agile. Or they want you to have an idea of Kanban as another framework of Agile. So those are those different frameworks within Agile. But again, the most popular one, and we're going to be dwelling on this one, is Scrum. We only have a limited time, so let's keep going. Yeah, so popularity depends on industry, Agile, and waterfall. That is agreed. But again, when you talk about software development, I want to argue that the most popular one, and maybe I would have supported my assumption with actual representation of statistics here, but the most popular one when it comes to software development would be Agile and of course waterfall. Okay, let's keep going. So here's what that SDLC looks like. It's the 7 phases. And just to double check that people are actually listening on the call, let's do a quick test here. Okay, let's have a quick conversation. So I've already given you the answer for the first stage. Remember, I mentioned there's 7 stages within the SDLC. I always like to take pauses every now and then to ensure that people are following. I'm not speaking too fast. People are actually able to comprehend and understand what it is that we're doing today. So we've talked about the 7 stages in the previous slides, or in previous 2 slides. Can anyone tell me what that second stage is? After planning, what's the second stage of SDLC? Okay, I'm waiting in the chat. Let's see. Someone says planning. Yes, that's the first stage. It's already on the screen. I need the second stage right now. Planning and analysis. Humphrey says analysis. Olayinka says planning and analysis. That's analysis being the second one. Ramon says design analysis, and that's exactly right. The next phase here is requirements analysis. Okay, after analysis is done, we're done with the planning, we're done with analysis, we've gathered the requirements. We have that BRD documented, or in Agile, some of us already know, we have user stories documented, we have our acceptance criteria and stuff like that. What is the next phase? What is that next phase? Okay, someone has already preempted here and said design. Okay, let's see if that's right. Let's see if other people agree with that. Okay, I see Humphrey also saying design. Okay, there's design. Okay, let's wait for a few more to see if we have any differing opinions. All right, Dara has confirmed as well. And Dara says design. Let's see if that's right. That's exactly right. The next phase is actually design. And let's go on to the 4th phase. What's the 4th phase of the software development life cycle? We've gone through the planning phase. We have our requirements documents. We have our wireframes, our process flows, and so on. We have our data models. What's the next phase? What gets to happen once you have all of these things in play? Okay, so I'm seeing Chineye say development. And I want other people to confirm if development is correct, or is it something else. Okay, so I can see Humphrey as well saying development. Ken Francis is saying implementation at this stage. Well, not quite, but yes, development, implementation, yes, definitely, that's right. I was just trying to play a trick on you. Implementation or development is exactly right to be the 4th phase. Okay, let's go on to the 5th phase. So we're done with all those process flows. We're done with the modeling. We're done with the wireframe, the coders, the IT guys who are doing coding. Someone asked, when is coding done? It's done in number 4, phase 4. All of the coding is getting done right now. It's been completed. What's the next stage? And someone has preempted us here and said testing. Adirogba is saying testing. Ken Francis is saying testing. I'm seeing the same names over and over again. Guys, I know we're more than 11 people on this call. go ahead and let's get involved. This is the only way you're really going to be able to learn something today. If you just listen and you're pushing you and you're pressing stuff on your phone, trust me, you wouldn't really be able to achieve or learn anything today, and would have failed at the objective of this training. So get involved. Yes, the sisters, the Sogan is also saying testing, 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 testing. And let's see if that's right. And bravo, guys. Well done. It's actually right. Testing is the next phase. Okay. So we're done with testing. Everything, well, maybe initially things didn't pan out. So as you can see there, we have 2 green check marks and then 1 X showing red there. There's a bit of a problem. So we've gone back to the tester. So we've gone back to the development team. They fixed those stuff. Now it's all green check marks, 100%. What's the next phase once testing is done? Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. What's the next phase once testing is done? Okay, so I'm seeing Fred saying deployment. That's exactly right, Fred. Answers deployments. Let's keep moving. And then finally, can anyone let me know what that final stage is? You've deployed, yes, but also you want to ensure that the site is up and running. You want to ensure that the website is working as it should. You want to ensure that any glitches, any bugs that have been found have fixed it as soon as possible. And Dara and Esther confirming to me that the final phase here is maintenance. Awesome. Okay, so now you guys have an idea what software development involves. Okay, you have an idea what the different phases of software development life cycle. We've also talked about the methodologies, and we talked about waterfall, we talked about agile, and there was spiral and V-shaped, and there's so many others, right? And we also talked about the framework of agile. Okay, so now let's put that to test. Let's compare waterfall, traditional, if we wanted to develop a product, versus agile. Okay, let's do that. So let's say we want to build Frankenstein, and those of us on the call who are scared of scary movies, I'm so sorry to have scared you with this one. But let's assume that we want to build Frankenstein, and this Frankenstein isn't looking very scary. The guy is actually smiling. Let's assume you want to build Frankenstein, and if you watch that movie, a crazy scientist came up with the idea of putting some parts together to actually build this monster-looking creature thing, and then he turned on one button at the end of the day and say, "Hey, it's alive," and that's Frankenstein, right? So let's assume you wanted to build Frankenstein. I tasked you, Adebambo, to say, "Hey, I need you to build Frankenstein." Now, the next thing you're going to have to decide is, well, do I want to build Frankenstein in a traditional methodology or an agile format? But let's assume that you were doing it in a traditional or waterfall methodology, right? So here's what's going to look like. You're going to start with that sort of planning phase, and then you get into requirements. And then you get into analysis. You get into design after that, step by step. So again, remember what I said earlier. One phase must be complete, and that's why it's called a waterfall methodology. Just imagine water falling down. So it's it's coming down. One step is done, going down to the next stage. That step is done, going down to the next step. Excuse me, until everything is complete. So planning or requirements has to be complete, analysis has to be complete, design has to be complete, development has to be complete before you can actually start testing the entire Frankenstein. So this analogy here paints that picture a little bit clearer, right? So first we have been tasked with designing Frankenstein. Okay, so we're starting with the eye, and when the eye is done, we have moved to the ear. The ear has to be completed before we move to the leg. Leg is completed, hand is completed. And then finally, when we are done putting everything together, we hit the button and say, "Hey, we're about to deploy," and we deploy, and then it comes out that Frankenstein is a crazy guy and is about to eat the doctor who was actually developed him. So it was Adebambo. Frankenstein is about to eat Adebambo. I'm just kidding. So that's what a traditional methodology looks like. We have to be done from head to toe with Frankenstein. Frankenstein has to be complete from head to toe before we actually have that big bang, that launch. Okay. Now I'm sure you're already thinking, is this a good approach? And maybe why are companies moving to agile? And let's talk about agile. Let's compare and contrast. So again, guys, I told you at the start of the session, I'm not going to be doing anything too technical, too crazy, throwing out terms to you there, giving you some Harvard professor documentation of what a traditional waterfall is and give you the story or the theory, the background of the first person who invented the traditional or waterfall methodology and so on. No, it's practical. Let's understand this thing. Let me talk to you. I mean, someone said to me one time, if you cannot explain something to a 5-year-old, then you can't explain that stuff. You don't understand that stuff well enough. So let's break it down like we are 5-year-olds. Let's break it down so each and every one of us did, regardless of what level you're in, you understand what this methodology entails. Okay. So again, traditional is we're having to finish everything, complete all the stages before we actually hit launch and see that end product. So we're having to wait a long time. Let's say this project is, it's a whole 2 years long. We're having to wait 2 years before we actually see any semblance of the finished product, which is Frankenstein. And then maybe at the end of the day, it's having a lot of problems or is now outdated. And so you're having to go back to the drawing table. So anyway, there are lots of pros and cons with traditional for sure. But the huge con with traditional is the fact that, and we'll see that on another slide, is the fact that it takes so much time before any value is presented to the customer or to the business owner or to the project sponsor, right? To the clients that you're building this website for. It takes a whole year to build the website before you finally see the website. But with agile methodology, building Frankenstein is slightly different. And let's look at what that entails. Now we are doing this in increments. We are designing Frankenstein in iterations. We are designing Frankenstein in sprints. Okay. So we're saying, hey, we're not going to wait for you. You don't have to wait for 1 whole year before we show you any idea of what your website looks like or what your software looks like, what your product looks like. We're going to be giving you glimpse and checking with you that we're doing the right thing. We're checking with you to ensure that you're satisfied, that we're accounting for all the new changes and developments that are occurring as we continue this project. So it's very much so that you're engaging your customers more on like, hey, okay, we're going to build your websites, and the next time you're going to hear from me is after 1 year. Do you understand? And this is the reason why companies are beginning to move to more agile, because it's you're favoring people and interactions over processes and tools. You're favoring customer collaboration because you're going back to the client to say, hey, is this what you want? This is the leg part that we've built. Is it good enough? It's good enough. Awesome. This is the torso now that we're building. Do you want to make any changes to the torso? Maybe the new style now is that no one is wearing jackets now. They're now wearing agbada. Agbada is the traditional attire of Yoruba people, Nigerian Yoruba people on the call. Yeah, maybe Frankenstein should not be wearing agbada rather than a torn suit, right? And so they have made changes to that torso part, and you're now having to put on agbada for Frankenstein. So those interactions are going on, frequently. It's such that it is it's giving priority to changes. Unlike waterfall, before you make any change, you have to go and write a change requirement document and explain why this change is happening and how that change is going to affect your scope, your time, as well as the cost. Okay. All right, let's keep going. So we've designed the leg in the first iteration. We've checked with, and see, look, in all of this iteration, all of the SDLC phases are happening there. So we're going through design analysis and testing and blah, 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 all in each phase. Once we're done with that one, we've tested it. It's great. We've deployed it. We'll go ahead and then get into the torso. And that's the next iteration or next sprint. If we're talking about Scrum method framework, we say sprint, right? So going into that next sprint, we're designing the torso where, again, we're designing it. We've gone through wireframes. We've gone to testing, and it's great. We've deployed it. We've kept it there. And then what's happening here is we're also doing something called integration testing. So we're now joining the torso and the leg together to say, hey, can they stand together? They're standing together, and that's happening in that sprint. So the next one goes with the I think it's the left hand now, and the next one goes with the head, and so on, until you're actually done designing our friend here, Frankenstein. Guys, which would you rather choose if you were put yourself in the shoes of the client? Which would you rather choose? Would you rather want to see some would you rather want to follow the progress of your websites that you're building and see some value being created, see some demonstration of that website on a monthly basis, or would you rather wait one whole year to actually see what that website looks like? Which would you rather choose? So if it's agile, say agile. If it's waterfall, say waterfall. And I'm waiting. I see already a few people are saying agile, agile, agile. Chijoke says small part. Humphrey says agile. Oh, I definitely want to be doing agile. So yes, that's what it is, and that's why companies are now going to agile, because it makes more sense. You are able to interact with the customer or the client more frequently. You're taking into consideration all the different changes that are happening, not just for the customer, but also in terms of the economy and what's in play right now, what are competition doing, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there's something called the Agile Manifesto. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I implore you guys after this call to go in and Google, just quick time check here. Go in and Google Agile Manifesto, Google Agile Principles. So just like I mentioned to you earlier, okay, so Agile is favoring more people and interactions over processes and tools. So we're not, wasting too much time with processes and tools. It's more so people and interaction. Let's understand that flexibility. So I just typed in Agile is flexible, and that's true. Let's have that flexibility to continue to interact with our client and see what they want and see what's possible for us to do as well. And it's also customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So imagine that you're able to build a website, a big website as big as Amazon. Imagine how many months it would take you to actually figure out how much it would cost to build an Amazon website, or to build the whole Amazon ecosystem, from the website to maybe understanding what supply chain looks like and so on. So you're taking all this time to negotiate the contract, and you're not even started the work. We're already 2-3 months in, and you've not even started the work at all. So it's no, let's not waste too much time on contract negotiation. Let's say, hey, let's charge you first for the head, and then once we deliver the head, we charge you next for the hand. And once we deliver the right hand, we charge you next for the left leg, and so on, right? And Richard says agile eliminates waste because changes uh, come time after time. For example, a change in legislation. That's exactly right. So let's say now we're favoring, if that's not happened yet, but I favor maybe cryptocurrency, and the client now wants to have the ability to be able to accept cryptocurrency on their website. Imagine that you waited all the way till 1 year after. Um, you'll be way, and you've gone ahead to deploy that website, and it doesn't accept cryptocurrency, and all your competitors are accepting cryptocurrency. Definitely the clients would be left behind, and they will be at a disadvantage in terms of that competitive advantage. So thank you very much, Richard, for that insight there. Another one is working software over comprehensive documentation. So rather than wasting all the time to sit down and document 120 pages of BRD, or this many pages of um, software requirements documentation, or all the other documentation, let's start working on the software. Let's provide what's called MVP, a minimum viable product, something that the customer can touch and feel, and we can start to provide value that way. Okay. And then the next one here is responding to change over following a plan. And that's where, Richard's comment comes in there. So it's a lot of good stuff. You can definitely do some more research to just understand the difference between Agile and Waterfall in terms of the pros and the cons. Okay. So I see Lugbenga is back online here. Just time check. Are we doing good with time, or do we cut the short?
I just want us to watch the time. Maybe you just allow like a few questions in case, because we should round up by 2:30.
2:30. Okay. So
So
we are almost at time now. We have somewhere about 10 minutes, and this is interesting stuff. So I'm going to skip through a few slides here and quickly touch on what that role of a BA is within that Scrum framework. So remember, we said the Scrum framework is a type, it's the Agile methodology, and one way to implement Agile is using the Scrum framework. Now, within the Scrum framework, we have these key players in the team. So it's called a Scrum team, and in that Scrum team we have a Scrum master, we have a product owner, and we have the dev team. Now you might start to wonder, and maybe you start to type a question there to say, well, I don't see a BA in any of these people. There's a business owner up here, stakeholders, and SMEs to the left here. There's no BA. That's exactly right. The BA is considered to be part of the development team, and I'll tell you what their role looks like in a second. Okay. So this is how a scrum would work. It's usually happening in sprints that could be between sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks sprints, and so on. And you're developing, again, that example, we're developing Frankenstein in iterations. So within a space of 4 weeks, we've developed the head. Within a space of 4 weeks, we've developed the hand, and so on. So we're doing all of these things in iteration. So let's really go on here to the last slide. So before I take questions here, because I know a lot of you have questions, here is what the role of a BA looks like within a Scrum team. Now you have the product owner, and if you paid a bit of attention, I know we skipped through that really fast, but if you paid a bit of attention here, you've seen that the product owner is the one really interfacing. They call them the voice of the customer. So the product owner is the person who is in charge of interfacing directly with the client to understand what it is that the client wants built, right? And they have something called a product roadmap that also feeds into a product backlog, right? To say, hey, these are all the things, all the things that the customer would like to be built, and there's all of that is documented within the product backlog, and that's broken down into things like epics, user stories, tasks, subtasks, and so on. Okay, if you're using sort of like maybe like a Jira tool or Azure DevOps to monitor your progress. Okay. However, a BA is helping with, and these are all the rules of the PO. I'm not going to go through everything, but while a PO is responsible for this stuff, the BA is helping with refinements elicitation, or sorry, requirements elicitation. I should have put requirements, not refinements there. I'll make that correction. So requirements elicitation, they're helping to the product owner in the conversation with the client to understand what they want. They might pull that BA into that conversation so the BA can really ask those questions. Remember, your role as a BA is really to ask questions. So if you ask a lot of questions, yes, this is the right career for you. If you're inquisitive, this is definitely the right career path for you. So you're going in, you're asking those questions to the clients to really understand, get down to the nitty gritty of what the client really needs. You're doing that detailed analysis. You're helping to engage stakeholders, both internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. And you're doing things like process modeling. You're also doing gap analysis, your documentation. Now, documentation here may be such that you are having to help write user stories. Traditionally, well, not traditionally, but in agile environments, the PO would usually sort of help write that theme or the epic. An epic could be we want customers to be able to purchase items, right? That's a whole epic. So now user stories under that is, as a customer, I want to be able to pay with my I want to be able to pick this item from the backlog so that I can, ship that to myself and stuff like that, right? Or payments could be another epic, and then user stories underneath of that. So in some cases, you might have the PO who is sort of writing up that epic based on conversation with the client, and then the BA is helping to break those down into user stories. We saw some user story examples when the project presentation was going on. I know we're pressed for time. This is a huge topic that I definitely would implore you guys to go ahead and do some more research. It's interesting. Agile is fun to work with. There's not a lot of documentation in Agile, and it's much easier to work in an Agile environment, in my opinion, than a waterfall environment. I'm sure maybe some people will disagree with me on the call today. And then finally, you're also helping with UA testing, right? So you're helping to organize or to coordinate that user acceptance testing, and you yourself might be part of that user acceptance testing. Now, Fred asked about retrospective. Retrospective, for those who may not know, is one of the Scrum ceremonies or Scrum events that gets to happen. So we have the sprint planning, we have the backlog refinements, we have the review, and then finally we have the retrospective. So retrospective is where everyone is sitting in to say, hey, how did this sprint go? Remember, we're not necessarily looking at a project that is 1 year long. Sprints are like 1 to 4 months long, right? 4 weeks long, sorry. So after that 4 weeks, it's more so, hey, how did we do in terms of delivering in that example again, Frankenstein's head? Did we deliver it on time? Did we work together really well? Did we have all the information we needed initially, and so on? So that's what's happening during that retrospective. And you, as a BA, you are either somehow it depends on how you're functioning. It depends on what that Scrum team looks like. In some Scrum teams, you might not even have a Scrum Master. And you, as a BA, you are also doubling as a Scrum Master. So if that's the case, then yes, you're definitely going to be facilitating that retrospective. But if you have a Scrum Master, then you are going to be part of the team part of the development team, and you're also going to be providing your own responses as to how that sprint went. Okay. And so let's end here and quickly take questions. I know you guys are burning with excitement and questions to say, oh, I can actually be part of building a software. I can actually be a BA within Agile. That's great. And I probably have a few questions to ask. So I'm going to give you guys the opportunity now. I've had fun with you guys. You guys have been excellent. Just the conversations again going through in the comment section has been amazing. So go ahead and ask your questions. What can I help you answer right now? I can see Olugbengatu is on the call to help answer those questions too. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes. So I see thank you too, guys. You guys have been awesome. I hope you learned a little bit. There's more to uncover within Scrum and Agile. So I encourage you guys, go on Google. Google is your friend. Guys, now there's something called Chat GPT. It is Google on steroids. If you have not heard of Chat GPT, and I'm going to try and see if I can type that for you in here. If you've not heard on Chat GPT, you are on a long thing, as my friend Dibanj will say. And Kizani will say, Olamide will say G Masun. God bless you. Success Career Hub has typed it for us. Chat GPT. Go and check that tool out. It is a powerful AI tool that allows you to type in prompts, type in questions. Imagine if you could go on Google and type in a question, and Google is not showing you different sites that have the question. It is giving you that answer directly. You're saying, hey, give me some ideas or requirements for this type of products, and then it's coming out and giving you examples of requirements. It's coming out to give you examples of user stories. Guys, that's the power of AI. It's the power of ChatGPT. So I encourage you guys to start using that tool if you're not using it just yet. Okay, so let's see whether we have any questions. And Lubenga, do you see any questions coming in? If you do, let me know and we can try and answer those ones.
It's like someone is asking, what is a UAT?
Oh yeah. So UAT is a user acceptance test or testing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are basically, after the product is designed, right? Before it gets to be deployed, you are taking it back to the clients or the end users, for example, right? To test the product, to test the website. So you're saying, hey, you want people to be able to go in and register. You are allowing people to actually go in and try to register on the website to see if it works, right? You're also saying maybe part of the website design is that you want the owner of the website, right, to be able to upload products into the catalog. You are allowing the owner to go in and test to see, oh, can I actually pull, drag and drop this product? Can I actually upload a shoe and a bag as something I want to sell on the site? So all of that testing is happening. It is, from the end user's point of view, they're testing everything to see that it works. And if it does work, you have that green check mark to go ahead and deploy. Okay. All right, so thank you so much. I know we are time right now, and for a lot of you who are joining from across the globe, thank you for taking this time to join us today. It's been exciting to be here. There's lots and lots of stuff to uncover when it comes to Scrum and Agile, and guys, that is the future. So I encourage you to be inquisitive. Go ahead and do your own research. Go ahead and do some just some search around what Scrum is, around what Agile is. There are easy Scrum certifications that you can take right now. There's one that's PSM. It's very easy to take. Take that, put in your CV, and you just get to stand out as a BA who is vying for a position in Agile or Scrum. Okay? Over to you, Olumega.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Abraham. Sorry, everybody. We have a senior BA in the house. Thank you very much, Abraham. That was a very insightful session. And again, like I used to say, we can't use 2 hours to dig into all of this. We have a lot to learn, but as much as possible, we try to continue, to add value and impact knowledge to ourselves. I want to say that Group 3 has actually helped us with their BRD. I'm going to drop all the BRD on the share. Sorry. I'm going to drop it on the share point. Sorry, I call it SharePoint, Google Drive, so that everybody can have access to it. And our assignment this week is I'm going to divide the features that we have already discovered for these products. And I want us to write user stories and acceptance criteria. So next week, we're going straight to demonstrate some of the our ceremony, the activities within the Scrum. So we go straight to Jira and put all these user stories and acceptance criteria on Jira. And again, you will see how we move from product backlog to sprint backlog and how we move within the sprint. So we will not just be talking theoretical next week. We will actually be demonstrating it. And again, I will push it back to you and your team, so that you are going to also create your Jira board and move all these things with, within your team. We are much, but when we break it down, it will help us to everybody, at least you will have opportunity to partake of whatever we will be doing. So I will be communicating on the WhatsApp group, and thank you for joining again today. I believe we've learned a lot of things today, but let's keep going. We're going somewhere. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day, and God bless you. Good night to those is already night, and if it's still afternoon, if you're in Canada, the weather is a bit good today. Go out there and enjoy it. Bye-bye. Everybody, thanks my crew. Akinyimika, Olayimika, Tosin, all of you, I appreciate you guys. You did a fantastic job. And for the team members and those that presented, thank you very much. God bless you.